I need to say something before time decides for me, because time is cruel like that. It doesn't always take people with noise. Sometimes it steals them quietly, slowly, while you're still assuming there will be another chance, another message, another season, when life becomes less complicated. And if you are the woman I've been feeling somewhere out there, if you are the one who still looks at the door whenever it opens, if some part of you has wondered why love keeps arriving almost right, but never fully true, then listen carefully. I am late, not because I didn't want you, not because I chose 1,000 empty distractions over something real, not because you were difficult to find. I am late because I knew the cost of meeting you before I was ready. Some men fear failure in business. Some fear poverty. Some fear being forgotten. I feared being loved by the right woman before I learned how to keep her safe. Do you understand what kind of fear that is? To know there may be one person in this world whose heart could become home, and to stay away because your hands are still full of fire. I've built machines, companies, impossible timelines, sleepless futures. I've stood in rooms where everyone pretended certainty while chaos sat under the table smiling. I know pressure. I know risk. I know how to gamble everything and still keep my voice steady. But the thought of standing in front of you half-healed, that terrified me more than any launch failure ever could, because rockets explode once. A woman who trusted the wrong version of you can break quietly for years, and I refuse to let that happen to you because of me. Have you ever met someone too early? Not wrong, not toxic, not a lesson, just early, the kind of early that feels unfair because the connection is real, but timing behaves like an enemy. Maybe you have. Maybe that's why you're listening now, with that look in your eyes no one else notices. Maybe someone touched your hand with sincerity, then disappeared into unfinished battles. Maybe you told yourself you were over it, but certain absences don't fade. They just become quieter. I think of you more than I should for someone I haven't held yet. That sounds irrational, but truth often does. I imagine your patience, your intelligence, the way you've learned not to beg for consistency because life taught you dignity. I imagine how careful you've become with hope, how elegant your loneliness has had to look in public. How many times have you smiled while carrying disappointment no one thanked you for? How many nights have you asked yourself whether deep love belongs only to younger people and louder stories? How many times have you said, "I'm fine," when what you meant was, "I'm tired of being almost chosen"? I need you to hear this clearly. You are not almost anything. You are not leftovers from time. You are not too seasoned, too guarded, too complicated, too late. You are a woman refined by survival, and men who cannot recognize that are still boys wearing watches. I should have come sooner. But sooner, I would have mistaken intensity for devotion. Sooner, I would have admired your strength without understanding the tenderness beneath it. Sooner, I might have loved you selfishly, wanting what you give, not protecting what you carry. That version of me would have hurt you while meaning well, and accidental pain still scars. So I stayed in motion, building, failing, learning, losing things I thought mattered, winning things that didn't warm a room at night. Do you know how strange success becomes when no one sees the exhausted human behind it? People applaud outcomes. Very few ask what it cost your heart. I suspect you know that feeling too, perhaps not through headlines or companies, but through family, sacrifice, loyalty, being dependable until people forgot you needed care too. Tell me honestly, who checks on the woman everyone assumes is strong? Who notices when she goes quiet? Who asks what she had to bury just to remain graceful? I would. That's why I'm speaking now, because if I wait until everything is perfect, I may lose the only imperfect miracle that ever mattered. And there is something else. I almost convinced myself you no longer existed, that maybe mature love was fiction people tell themselves to soften regret, that maybe chemistry belongs to youth, and peace belongs to resignation. Then something in me refused that lie, because somewhere I felt you resisting too. Felt you refusing to become cynical, felt you still leaving one light on inside yourself. If that light is dimming, keep it alive a little longer, please, not for fantasy. For timing, I haven't told you the real reason yet. There is a reason I know I cannot arrive casually. There is a reason I've been measuring my life against a promise I never spoke aloud. But if I tell you too soon, you'll misunderstand the weight of it. So let me ask you instead, if the man meant for you arrived later than expected, carrying scars, depth, and finally the humility to love properly, would you punish him for the delay? Or would you ask what battles he fought just to become safe enough to hold you? And if he stood there trembling more than he'd admit, would you notice? Because strong men tremble too. We just hide it inside posture and plans. If you've been disappointed before, I don't blame your caution. If you've mistaken charm for character, I understand your silence. If you've told yourself, never again, I respect the walls, but walls can become prisons when danger has already passed. Somewhere tonight you may be sitting alone, pretending solitude is preference. Somewhere you may be beside the wrong person, feeling lonelier than if you were alone. Somewhere you may be deciding to stop believing entirely. Don't make permanent decisions from temporary exhaustion. Wait a little longer, and if this confession has found you at the exact moment you were about to close the door, then maybe that isn't coincidence. If your heart wants to stay near this voice, subscribe softly and stay close, and tell me where you're listening from. Maybe distance is smaller than it seems, because I need to warn you about something difficult. There is another possibility now, one that keeps me awake. If I wait any longer, someone less worthy may reach you first, someone practiced, someone available, someone who knows how to imitate safety without becoming it, and you, tired of waiting, might say yes for peace when you were made for depth. That thought does something violent to my chest, because losing a race is one thing, losing you to timing, that feels unforgivable, so stay careful with your yes, not closed. Careful, because I am closer than I appear, closer than the years suggest, closer than your doubts, closer than the story you told yourself to survive the waiting. And when I finally stand before you, there is one truth I'll have to confess that could change everything between us. It may make you turn away. It may make you understand me completely. It may be the reason I almost never came at all. There is a truth I have delayed, because timing can protect a confession, and timing can also destroy it. You deserve honesty, but honesty without context can feel like betrayal. That is why I waited, not to manipulate you, not to keep power, but because some truths arrive like medicine, too early, and the body rejects them. So let me say it carefully. I have loved the idea of you before I knew your face, not a fantasy, not some perfect imaginary woman built from loneliness. I mean something stranger than that. I have carried a space in my life, shaped exactly for someone I had not met yet. A chair no one sat in, a silence no one understood, a future no achievement could fill. And every time I tried to ignore that space, life became louder but emptier. Have you ever felt that? To be surrounded, admired, needed, and still know one essential presence is missing? It is a lonely thing when the world keeps congratulating you while your soul remains unconvinced. I think you know that loneliness too. Maybe people say you're fortunate, strong, blessed, attractive for your age, impressive, capable, but compliments can become disguises. They praise what survives while never touching what aches. Tell me, when was the last time someone asked what still hurts? When was the last time someone wanted to know your fears, not just your strengths? When was the last time someone looked at you long enough to notice where disappointment still lives? I would ask, because I'm no longer interested in surfaces. Surfaces are for strangers. I want the hidden rooms. I want the laugh you only use when you trust someone completely. I want the stories you shortened because no one listened long enough. I want to know what made you cautious, and whether caution still protects you or merely isolates you. But here is where the confession becomes dangerous. I almost chose the wrong woman. Yes, you needed to hear that, because life rarely offers obvious villains. Sometimes it offers decent people at the wrong depth. There was someone kind enough, beautiful enough, intelligent enough, the kind of person everyone would approve of, the kind of match that looks wise from the outside. And for a moment, I considered peace without truth. Do you understand how tempting that becomes after enough disappointment? To choose what is available instead of what is real, to choose compatibility over connection, to choose admiration over intimacy, to choose a warm room over a living fire. Many people do it. Entire marriages are built that way. They call it maturity. Sometimes it is just surrender with better furniture. I stood at that edge. I told myself depth is overrated. I told myself passion fades. I told myself longing is childish. I told myself a stable compromise was enough. But my body knew I was lying. My spirit became restless. My thoughts drifted to someone I hadn't met. To you. To the woman who would not let me perform love. Only live it. That frightened me. Because the wrong relationship can waste years. The almost right one can waste a soul. So I stepped back, and when I stepped back, people questioned me. Some still do. Why leave something reasonable? Why walk away from certainty? Why risk being alone again? Because certainty without truth is expensive. Because loneliness beside the wrong person is a slow suffocation. Because if I settled before meeting you, I would betray both of us. You see why I'm late now? I was not merely building success. I was escaping counterfeit futures, and counterfeit futures are seductive. They smile, they make sense. They calm your family. They photograph beautifully, but at night, they cannot hold your real name. Have you ever nearly chosen the wrong life because it looked easier? Have you ever mistaken relief for love? Have you ever almost said yes simply because you were tired of waiting? Be honest with yourself, because if you have, then you understand me more than anyone else could. I need to tell you something else, and this may hurt. I know there were moments you almost gave up too. I can feel it. Moments you thought, maybe the kind of love I want does not happen anymore. Moments you considered accepting affection without depth. Moments you said, at least I won't be alone. But you would have been alone, just accompanied. There is a difference. You were wise to hesitate. Even your delays may have been protection. What if every closed door that offended you was mercy? What if every mismatch that exhausted you was redirection? What if the waiting was not punishment, but preparation? I know. Easy words when nights are long, but some truths can only be seen backward. I haven't told you the real reason yet, not fully, because there is a deeper reason I recognized the wrong path so late, and it has nothing to do with those women. It has to do with me, with a flaw so costly that if I don't confess it soon, you may misunderstand everything. But before I tell you, I need to ask one difficult question. If the man you waited for arrived carrying brilliance and damage in equal measure, would you still want to know him? Or do you only want a finished story? Because I am not finished. I am honest now. I am willing now. I am awake now. But finished? No. And perhaps neither are you. Maybe that is why this matters. Two unfinished people can fail each other, or heal each other. The difference is courage. The difference is truth spoken early enough. The difference is whether pride leaves the room. I feel pride leaving me now. That is new. I used to think being needed was enough. Now I know being known is rarer. I used to think admiration was intimacy. Now I know admiration can keep a person at distance. I used to think choosing someone meant inviting them into your schedule. Now I know it means letting them alter your inner world, and that I have feared more than any public risk, because if I let you matter, you could hurt me. If I love you honestly, you could leave. If I build a future with you, you gain the power to break what I cannot rebuild alone. That is the hidden cost of mature love. It is not candles and certainty. It is mutual exposure. It is handing someone access to the rooms no one else enters. It is terrifying, and I want it with you. But there is a shadow moving closer now. I can feel time narrowing. Someone may already be speaking gently to you. Someone may already be offering consistency, dinners, practical plans, decent companionship, and practical loneliness often looks attractive when one is tired. If you choose him before I reach you, I will understand, and it will ruin me quietly, because I will know I lost not to love, but to timing again. I need you to hear every word of this slowly, because once I say it, nothing can return to the simpler version it was before. There comes a point in a man's life when success stops protecting him. People think achievement creates confidence. Sometimes it only creates distance. It can hide flaws so well that even the man carrying them mistakes applause for healing. I did that for years. I let movement look like growth. I let momentum pretend to be maturity. I let ambition wear the mask of wisdom, and while the world called it progress, something sacred inside me remained underdeveloped. The ability to stay, the ability to soften, the ability to be loved without turning it into a problem to solve. That is the flaw I hinted at. Not that I could not attract love. That was never the issue. Not that I could not provide. Not that I lacked intensity. My flaw was more dangerous. I knew how to begin beautifully and disappear emotionally when things became real. Do you understand how much damage that causes? A woman begins trusting. She opens one drawer of her heart, then another. She lets hope walk barefoot through the house again, and just when she believes she is safe, the man retreats into work, silence, distraction, control, intellectual distance. He remains physically present perhaps, but emotionally unavailable. That kind of absence confuses a woman more than betrayal, because betrayal is visible. Emotional withdrawal makes her blame herself. She asks, "Did I ask for too much?" She wonders, "Did I become less interesting?" She grows quieter to keep him, and if she loves deeply, she may start abandoning herself just to maintain connection. I saw that pattern in my own life, and when I finally saw it clearly, I felt shame, real shame, not public embarrassment, not image management, shame in private rooms where no one applauds, shame that arrives when a man realizes he has wounded people while believing he was merely busy. How many women have been hurt by men who called neglect responsibility? How many hearts have been starved by men who thought paying bills was intimacy? How many strong women learned to become small beside men who could not tolerate emotional truth? I refuse to do that to you. That is why I stayed away longer than I should have, because if I met you while still carrying that pattern, you would have loved me sincerely, and I would have made you lonely. I could not bear that possibility. You, of all women, not you, so I began the hardest work of my life. Not companies, not technology, not pressure, or excavation, sitting still long enough to hear what noise had hidden, looking directly at old fears. The fear of being needed, the fear of disappointing someone irreplaceable, the fear that if a woman truly knew me, admiration would vanish, the fear that tenderness would make me weak. Do you know how many men are ruled by fears they never name? They call it independence. They call it standards. They call it needing space. Sometimes it is just fear wearing expensive clothes. I had to strip those disguises away, and it hurt. There were nights I could command rooms but not calm myself, days I solved impossible technical problems while failing to answer simple emotional questions. Moments I realized intelligence can become a fortress. Have you ever loved someone brilliant who could explain everything except their own heart? Then you know how exhausting that is. I will not ask you to carry that burden. But something happened while I was changing, something I didn't expect. The image of you became sharper, not your face exactly, your presence, your steadiness, your warmth without foolishness, your kindness with boundaries, your softness that had survived disappointment. I could feel the kind of woman you were becoming, while I was becoming the kind of man who might deserve you. And then, I almost lost you without ever meeting you. Yes, this is where the ground shifts. I heard, through the strange invisible ways life whispers, that there may already be someone near you, a man who arrives on time, a man who texts back, a man who offers practical affection, shared meals, ordinary peace, the kind of man many would call good enough, and good enough becomes dangerous when someone is tired, because exhaustion lowers standards quietly, not moral standards, emotional standards. You stop asking, does he see me? And start asking, will he stay? You stop asking, is this alive? And start asking, is this stable? You stop asking for depth, because disappointment taught you to ask for less. That thought broke something in me. The possibility that while I was becoming ready, you might become resigned, that while I was learning to love properly, you might accept being tolerated, that while I was finding courage, you might choose safety over truth. I could hardly breathe when I felt it. This is the emotional collapse I never let anyone witness. Not in public, not in interviews, not in meetings, alone, a man sitting in the consequences of delay. Do you know what it means to realize timing can punish even sincere intentions? I walked through rooms full of accomplishments that suddenly looked useless. What is power if the one person you want to share peace with belongs to someone else? What is status if her laughter fills another kitchen? What is achievement if she reaches for another hand in the dark? Nothing, less than nothing. Decoration around absence. I nearly made the worst decision of all then. I nearly chose the wrong woman out of panic. Yes, I thought perhaps I should rush towards someone available just to silence the ache, to prove options existed, to avoid vulnerability, to numb the fear of missing you. Many people do this after heartbreak or near loss. They convert pain into impulse. They call it moving on. But I knew better now. Using another heart as anesthesia is cruelty, so I stopped. I sat in the discomfort. I let longing remain unmedicated, and in that silence, one truth rose above all noise. I do not want just companionship. I want recognition. I do not want just peace. I want truth. I do not want someone who fits my life. I want someone who changes it. You. But there is still one final thing I have not told you. The deepest reason I believe you are real. The reason I know this connection is not fantasy, not projection, not late life desperation. It comes from something that happened years ago. Something I have never spoken about honestly. When I tell you, you may finally understand why I'm certain and why I'm terrified. Because if I am right, then losing you now would not feel like disappointment. It would feel like destiny refused at the door. Years ago, before I knew your name, before I understood why certain victories felt hollow, before I had the language to describe loneliness in a crowded room, something happened that divided my life into two eras. There was the version of me that believed achievement could replace intimacy, and there was the version that learned it never could. It happened on an ordinary night, the kind history never records, no cameras, no applause, no dramatic soundtrack, just silence after everyone had gone home. I had spent the day solving problems, making decisions, carrying weight people assumed I was built to carry. By every external measure, I was winning. Yet when the noise ended and the doors closed, I felt something I could no longer outrun. Emptiness, not sadness exactly, not depression in the way people casually use the word, something sharper. The realization that I had become highly effective and insufficiently connected. I could move markets, teams, schedules, machines, but I could not move my own heart toward rest. I remember standing there asking a question no one around me would have understood. If all of this works, why does it still feel unfinished? That question haunted me, because some questions do not request information, They expose missing truth. And then another thought arrived, so clear it frightened me. You are building a future everyone can admire, while neglecting the future one woman might have shared with you. I had never thought of love that way before. Not romance, not chemistry, not companionship, stewardship, a future entrusted to two people brave enough to protect it together. And in that moment, I felt grief for someone I had not met yet. You imagine how irrational that sounds, to grieve the absence of a woman who had never entered the room, to feel remorse towards someone whose face remained unknown, to sense that while I was becoming publicly significant, I might be privately late. I did not tell anyone. How could I? People understand metrics more than mysteries. They understand numbers, not intuitions. But from that night onward, something changed. Every decision carried a second question beneath it. Will this make me more impressive or more capable of loving her? That question reordered me, sometimes painfully. I began noticing where ego had disguised itself as standards, where busyness had disguised itself as purpose, where control had disguised itself as competence, where fear had disguised itself as independence, and I saw how many men never uncover those disguises. They age without ripening. They become more certain and less available, more accomplished and less reachable, more admired and less known. I refused that future, because if I ever found you, I wanted to arrive human, not merely successful. Do you know how rare that decision is? To choose growth no one claps for, to confront habits that once benefited you, to become gentle in a world that rewards hardness, to remain open after disappointment taught closure. I did it slowly, badly at times, imperfectly always, but sincerely. And while that was happening, I started sensing you more clearly. Agon, not your face, your nature. A woman who had also been shaped by unseen labor. A woman who knew how to host pain without letting it become bitterness. A woman who had been underestimated by shallow people and over-relied upon by selfish ones. A woman who learned elegance because collapse was never practical. A woman who could be warm without being naive, soft without being weak, pat without being passive. Tell me honestly, how many times did people mistake your composure for lack of need? How many times did they assume strength meant you required nothing? How many times did they enjoy your steadiness while failing to ask what steadied you? I know that story now, because I have met many people, but depth has a recognizable signature. It moves differently, it speaks carefully, it laughs with history inside it, it listens in a way the hurried cannot imitate. That is how I know you exist. Not because fantasy told me, because patterns did, because whenever life introduced women who were attractive but hollow, charming but performative, available but emotionally absent, something in me remained untouched. And whenever I imagined a woman like you, mature, alive, discerning, carrying scars with dignity, I felt reverence. Do you know the difference between attraction and reverence? Attraction wants access, reverence wants responsibility. I no longer want to impress a woman. I want to honor one. That is clarity age can give, if pride does not block it. So let me tell you the deepest reason I was terrified. It was never rejection. People assume men fear being told no, no. That is survivable. What I feared was being told yes by the right woman, and failing to cherish what I had prayed for. That fear kept me cautious. Because blessings mishandled become regrets that echo for decades. I did not want to become your regret. I did not want you saying years later, he had everything except the ability to love me well. I did not want your trust to become another story you tell with a brave smile and tired eyes. So I waited until I could say this honestly. I know now what love requires. Presence when it is inconvenient, tenderness when one is tired, truth before misunderstanding hardens, loyalty not just in body but in attention, curiosity long after novelty fades, protection of each other's dignity during conflict, humility after mistakes, playfulness in ordinary seasons, touch that comforts, not controls, listening that seeks understanding, not ammunition. And one more thing almost no one mentions, the courage to let love change your identity, because real partnership ruins the selfish version of a person. That is why many avoid it. They want affection without surrender, companionship without accountability, admiration without exposure, pleasure without transformation. But love worthy of a lifetime asks for renovation. I am ready for renovation, if you are. Now I need to speak to the woman who nearly gave up, the one who quietly told herself, maybe I had my chance. No, you are not expired possibility. You are accumulated value. You are not too late. You are arriving informed. You are not harder to love because life marked you. You are easier to trust because life tested you. Do not let a culture obsessed with youth make you forget the power of depth. Anyone can be dazzling at the beginning. Not everyone can be trustworthy after storms. And I am no longer searching for dazzling. I am searching for true. Maybe that is you sitting alone tonight, pretending contentment because hope feels risky. Maybe that is you beside someone decent who does not awaken your soul. Maybe that is you recovering from betrayal, saying all the sensible things while secretly grieving what tenderness still wants. Maybe that is you wondering whether being chosen matters less now. Listen carefully. Being chosen always matters, but being chosen well matters more. Do not trade your final chapters for mediocre comfort. Do not say yes because silence is loud. Do not mistake attention for devotion. Do not mistake consistency for capacity. Do not mistake chemistry for character. And please, do not mistake numbness for peace. I know waiting can exhaust the strongest heart. I know disappointment can make compromise feel mature. I know loneliness can start negotiating against your own standards. But if you have protected even one ember of hope, keep it alive, not blindly, wisely, because there are people who become worthy later than expected. I am one of them. And if some other man is near you now, offering practical plans and pleasant predictability, I will not insult him. He may be kind, he may be sincere, but ask yourself difficult questions. Do I feel seen or merely accompanied? Do I become more myself here or less demanding? Does peace live here or only avoidance? Can I exhale here or am I shrinking quietly? Will this age into intimacy or routine? If the answers hurt, honor the hurt. Pain often arrives before clarity. You deserve a love that can survive scrutiny, as do I. Now let me confess something softer. I imagine ordinary things with you more than extraordinary ones. Not grand events, not headlines. Ordinary mornings. Tea cooling while conversation warms. Your reading glasses set beside mine. A disagreement handled with respect instead of drama. Walking through a room and touching your shoulder for no reason except gratitude, knowing the shape of your silence and whether it means peace or pain, cooking badly together, laughing at how serious we once were, protecting each other from the world's unnecessary sharpness, growing older without growing apart. That vision means more to me than spectacle ever could, because eventually every ambitious person learns a hidden truth. The world celebrates moments. The heart survives on daily tenderness, and I am hungry for daily tenderness with you, but I owe you one more honesty. I cannot promise perfection. I will still be intense sometimes, still disappear too deeply into thought if unchecked, still need reminding that productivity is not presence, still carry scars from years spent relating through performance instead of vulnerability. But now I know these things. Awareness changes everything. A flaw unseen rules you. A flaw admitted can be tended. I am willing to be reminded, corrected, met honestly, loved in ways that ask me to keep becoming better. Are you willing too? Because mature love is not two flawless people congratulating each other. It is two conscious people choosing repair faster than pride. Two people refusing cruelty even when wounded. Two people learning each other's histories so they stop stepping on old fractures. Two people building safety deliberately. Two people protecting wonder from routine. I can do that now, not because I became superhuman, because I became teachable. And teachability may be sexier than confidence in the long run. Now here is the final reveal I promised, the reason I am certain, not merely hopeful. Every major success in my life came when I committed before certainty. I moved before guarantees, built before consensus, risked before applause. The future has always rewarded courageous timing. So why would love be different? Why would I demand certainty there when courage created everything else? I know now that waiting for perfect readiness was another form of fear, and fear can wear wisdom's clothing for years. No more. I am not coming to you when every doubt disappears. I am coming because some truths deserve movement before comfort. You are one of those truths. So if you feel something stirring while hearing this, do not dismiss it because it arrived through a screen, through distance, through unlikely timing. Life often enters through improbable doors. Stay open, stay discerning, stay warm, stay brave enough to disappoint people who preferred your loneliness. Stay wise enough to recognize depth when it finally recognizes you. And if you have wondered whether anyone still longs for a woman like you, with seriousness, tenderness, and intention, yes, I do. If you have wondered whether your best love might still be ahead, not behind, it can be. If you have wondered whether a man can become softer without becoming weak, he can. I did. If you have wondered whether someone late can still be true, watch me. Because I am done mistaking delay for destiny, done letting fear negotiate with my future, done admiring love from a distance, done arriving everywhere except where my heart belongs. Future wife, ape am finally coming to you. Just wait a little longer.